Hello, everybody. This is Anti-Natalist, and I'm going to be doing a video on an article that was published recently in the Pittsburgh City paper, and it's entitled 30 Years as an Abortion Clinic Escort. Now, the City paper, they do articles on social topics and events in the surrounding Pittsburgh area. This particular article was regarding the area of Grandview Avenue on Mount Washington, which is not very wheelchair accessible. And as you can see, the sidewalks and the telephone poles are blocking, the access that her and her dog can get through with her wheelchair. But I do want to say something before I get started. I have contacted this paper on numerous occasions to discuss antinatalism and to ask them to do articles on antinatalism. And me and another friend have questioned them. We have sent emails multiple times, actually, and we never even got a response. So everybody wants to talk about everything except antinatalism, which is very, very, it's very, very discouraging for me because I think this is a topic that needs to be shared far and wide, and it's every bit as important and more important than talking about, wheelchair accessibility and escorting women through the picket lines of abortion clinics, because antinatalism just prevents all of those needs and requirements, and antinatalism is the end all, and it just prevents all harm from ever taking place. So I'm going to be reading this article for you, and you can just stand by or you can read along. Whenever picketers surround Pittsburgh's abortion clinics, volunteers are on the scene to usher patients safely inside. One of them is Laura. Laura has been volunteering as an abortion clinic escort in Pittsburgh for more than 30 years. She calls her relationships with patients exceedingly brief, but critical nonetheless. Clinic escorts act as a buffer between patients walking into the clinic and the picketers Laura has dubbed antis. The intention is multiple, Laura tells Pittsburgh City paper, to identify ourselves, to give the patient information, and also to give them something to listen to. So they're not focused on listening to the anti-abortion activists. Laura is a coordinator with Pittsburgh Pro-Choice Escorts, a group that organizes volunteers to stand in front of the city's two abortion clinics, Planned Parenthood of Western PA in downtown and Allegheny Reproductive Health Center in East Liberty. She got involved in 1991 when the organization was just a few years old. It was formed in response to massive demonstrations outside the clinics. I'm talking hundreds of people, 300, 400, or 500 people, blocking the streets, blocking the sidewalks, blocking the entrance to the clinic, she shares. The clinic escort volunteers stand outside on Saturday mornings. Depending on the amount of picketers, some will stay closer to the doors, down at the ends of the street, or even across the street. They introduce themselves and ask if a patient would like to be accompanied. If a patient is scared, volunteers will surround them as they walk into the clinic. Laura says that anti-abortion protesters usually target younger people on the street because younger people tend to be polite to strangers. Women also are more polite to strangers, but women are the only ones getting abortions too. Laura says that anti-abortion protesters usually target, I've already said that, yeah. And when somebody stops them on the street and says, I'd like to share this information with you, here's a pamphlet, they stop, Laura shares. So our role at that point is to break that contact. The volunteer group works with the Women's Law Project to ensure buffer zones by the entrance are respected. Laura warns patients and their accompanying loved ones not to engage with picketers. She shares that a few weeks ago, volunteers had to de-escalate an altercation between a patient's partner and a picketer. These are very litigious people, Laura declares. And if you were to get into a fight with them, they would call the cops, they would get your information, and you would never be done with them. Never. Pittsburgh clinics deal with increasingly hostile picketer presence during 40 Days for Life, an anti-abortion campaign coinciding with the Lenten season. Planned Parenthood Western PA is listed as an official vigil site, with local churches and groups covering daily shifts. Laura says she thinks it's creepy, but 40 days happens every year. We are well prepared for it. Planned Parenthood hosts a fundraiser in response to 40 Days called Pledge a Picketer, which allows community members to pledge a donation for every picketer who stands outside the clinic. During high volume periods and in general, Laura says that escorts have to steel themselves for distressing material from picketers. Closer to when she started volunteering, anti-abortion organizers would bring posters of Holocaust victims to the clinic. So you have to kind of be careful about what you know, what your trigger is. Know what your button is, Laura says. And if they're pushing it, we are all about self-care. We can't do our jobs if we can't take care of ourselves. We can't do the job that we need to do for patients. As a volunteer coordinator, one of Laura's jobs is to check in on clinic escorts throughout their shifts. She asks if anyone needs a bathroom break, coffee, or to just sit down a few minutes. After volunteering, Laura will often go to the library or grab a dessert from Vanilla Pastry Studio. Laura says the pro-choice movement has changed a lot during her lifetime. Since last year's U.S. Supreme Court ruling on Dobbs versus Jackson, Women's Health Organization, which overturned federal protections to abortion access clinics in Pittsburgh, have faced a surge of patients from neighboring states. Growing up during the height of second wave feminism, she believes that the movement's narrow focus is responsible for today's troubles. We are able to ignore the urgent needs of Black and brown women, poor women, rural women, anyone not like us, as we worked to secure abortion rights for ourselves. White women need to use our privilege to demand that abortion access be convenient, affordable, and safe for every single person who wants an abortion, for whatever reason they have for making that decision. She urges young people not to give up on the fight for reproductive justice and is proud to be able to help community members safely get to appointments. We are here. The clinics are here. Providers are here. And we will continue to be here, Laura says. So fuck them. So yeah, that is the street on Liberty Avenue, which is Planned Parenthood. They used to have these yellow markings, or I don't know if they were stickers or painted on, and they were boundaries which the picketers could not cross for the abortion clinic. I've never been to one of these picketing situations. I believe it takes place very early in the morning. I think that they schedule abortions at very inconvenient times for most people to go to. Otherwise, I would like to be there and, share some information about antinatalism with these picketers. So, and the time frames are usually secretive, so it's not that the general public knows about them. But I'm assuming that these picketers do, they like to collude at any given moment, so they're available to gather. It's really unfortunate that, women have so many struggles with reproduction, finding adequate health care, and, toting the reproductive burden all alone, and often being victims of reproduction against their will. And, it takes money, it takes effort, it takes medical experience, it takes knowledge to actually get an abortion, and even a medical abortion or a pill abortion. So it's not easy for women at all, and especially women who are, in poor situations, involved in poverty, or rural women. And this is a region where, there's a lot of poverty, and Pittsburgh is very close to West Virginia. And, a lot of West Virginian women just don't have, they don't have cars, they don't have jobs, they don't have resources. They're victims of their gender. They are victims of their reproductivity. So anyway, thank you, Laura, for your dedication. I know that you have started your long journey to help women since 1991. And in 1991 was when I started advocating for animal rights and spay, neuter, and adoption. So you and I have been around, and things aren't really getting any better. I don't see things changing very much for animals and animal welfare. Shelters are just as full as they were in 1991. And I travel all around the globe, and I'm just not seeing, I'm not seeing a great amount of changes. And the animal activists and advocates in the world are slim and far between, and the percentage is very small compared to the general population. So, and you too, Laura, are a rare gem. For anyone who has been in activism for 30 years, that's a long, long time. And most people get burned out, and, they give up because they just don't see progress, and they're very, very disappointed. Right, girl? Right? So anyway, thanks for watching this far along, and please support women's causes. The battle is far from over for women, and other groups have surpassed women, although women are more than 50% of the population globally. So other groups are surpassing women in progress. Women's issues are, a really tough battle to tackle. So thank you for watching this far.